Okay, this is Grandma's house. You are probably wondering the reason why I've called you all here today, and it's to tell you this, that I am turning into my grandma. When I say this, I don't just mean that I'm getting older or that I'm acting like a grandma, but instead that I, Scott Belden, 1986 to present, am turning into Lydia Donor Goodwin, 1923 to 2018. Mom's mom. And this is not without precedent. We are all big fans of the insurance commercials on TV, where the owners of new homes are turning into their parents. And then a long time ago, there was this country music song, I'm My Own Grandpa. It's about a guy who he gets married, and his family tree is special such that he's technically his own grandpa. So we have that, but we have never had the story of how Scott Belden is turning into his own grandpa. So here's how we'll do it. There's a preamble, and then there are 10 words. The preamble. My first memory of grandma was at our old house across from Shepherd Elementary. I was about 5 years old, and I was writing stories. I had my paper, had my pencil, and I was writing on this wooden flat piano bench. Because this was about my height back in the day. It was my perfect height for writing. I believe all of us were this tall at one point. And Grandma is standing nearby watching me make the stories. So I have my pencil. I try to mark down the first letter. I don't like it. Scratch it off, erase it. Try it again. First letter, don't like it, erase it again and again. And Grandma sees this and laughs. She laughed at me. I don't think she was trying to be mean. She just knew that it wasn't the biggest deal in the world. I was 5 years old. It is just one letter. But to me, it was not just one letter. It was everything. It was who I was. It was what I did. So what I did at the time, I smoldered. That's rage, not on the outside, but on the inside. That's what I did. So let's consider that as our starting point. Grandma's laughter versus my rage. 5-year-old, quiet, polite, silent rage. As we go forward, we will see if there was to be a drawing near between us. So first word here is meals. When I'm talking about grandma and you hear the word meals, anybody want to say what comes to mind for you?
Meatloaf.
Spaghetti.
Pie.
Pie, could be delicious pie.
Thanksgiving.
A Thanksgiving meal, sure. It could be Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, those are all fine, but however, what I'm thinking of was a small, white, rectangular, aluminum, 13-ounce trash can with a step on the bottom. You can step on it, it will pop open the lid. Grandma would take this trash can, put it out on the front porch every day, check back a few hours later, and there was a warm, fresh cooked meal on the bottom of this trash can. This is Meals on Wheels. The volunteers brought her the meals every day. So that's pretty cool. It's brave. You know, when you think of a trash can, you think it's kind of icky. Maybe that's not the place where you want to have your meals come out of, but she was okay with it, and it worked. And really, she was just adapting the social architecture over time. Back in the day, you had the milkman.
That's true.
Okay, so the milkman delivers the milk into the box on your front porch. And by the time Grandma was in her 80s and 90s, she had just updated it to hard foods. It's like milk to solid foods. That is a front porch weaning. Now me, I do not receive Meals on Wheels yet. But that day is coming. And in fact has already arrived. As you may have seen on the internet, there are now companies that will deliver fresh cooked refrigerated meals to your front doorstep 6 at a time. I know because I get them every Tuesday. Some of my friends have challenged me on this. They say it's too expensive, it's not worth it. But here's the thing. If I were to drive to the grocery store, go to the frozen aisle, pick out a frozen meal, drive back home, put it in the microwave, that's gonna take at least 5 minutes to microwave. The ones I get that are refrigerated on my front doorstep, refrigerated. They only require 3 minutes. That's 2 minutes saved every time. And for me, you just can't put a price on 2 minutes. Next word is cats. I like cats a lot. So, when I joined a dating app on my phone, it tells you to post photos for your profile. It says for best odds of a like or match, post 5 to 6 photos. And here's the thing. I don't have that many photos of me, but I do have a bunch of photos of Ophelia, my baby kitty. Now, when I consulted with a wiser friend, he said, no, I don't think I would put a cat photo on your dating profile. I think that's going to send a message that you might not want to send. And the conventional wisdom is also, don't put a cat photo on your dating profile. But I did. Just one, a real adorable cat photo where she's sitting on the recliner like a human, and she's resting her cat chin on the armrest and looking up at the camera with her cat eyes, and I got a match. Not just a match. An actual lady somewhere in Missouri saw my profile and swiped right on either me or Ophelia or both of us. Her message, your cat is the cutest, 2 exclamation points. Okay, your turn. So I said, yeah. What would you respond to this? Your first message was the cat photo. You have just had a favorable interaction. Anybody have a hotline they would respond with? Okay, so I said, thanks, 1 exclamation point. Her name is Ophelia. She was an orphan. Her stage name is Lady Mary Clawley. I am told this is a Downton Abbey reference. The cat was a gift from my friend who also named her. Her response, a smiley emoji. My next question, so, what got you into nursing? And I never heard from her again. So if I were to ask Grandma, what went wrong? I think Grandma would say, you went basic. Cats are exciting. They're novel, they're funny, they're even cute. Work isn't. And Grandma knew. She wasn't on the apps, but she had all the cats. Cats were swiping right on that screen door every day. The cats showed up, she fed them, and she could not keep them away. Even if they were really timid and ran away as soon as she started talking to them. Okay, next is goodness. Goodness to me it sounds like a grandma word. If we imagine who's going to say the word goodness, we might imagine a grandma. Or Glinda, the Good Witch of the North from The Wizard of Oz. That would be the voice that we imagine the word goodness coming out in. Glinda, grandma, goodness, the words even sound alike. So in 1997, Grandma got remarried, and her last name changed to Goodwin. Goodwin. And about this time, I was coming out of 5th grade, and I was really going for goodness at this time. Here's what I mean. Not a lot of people know this, but at a young age, I had an opportunity to get into show business. That's right. At 11 years old, Hollywood came knocking. I could have been the next Shirley Temple. And if you ask me, I even walk like Groucho Marx. Next time you watch the Marx Brothers, just think of this. Okay, here's how it happened. Dad and I were watching the 1931 black and white Frankenstein movie. Universal Pictures, Boris Karloff, Colin Clive, some other people. At the beginning of the movie, there's a frightening graveyard scene where their facial expressions are quite terrified. At this time, Mom walked into the room and saw my face and noticed that my face matched the terrified expressions on the TV screen. And she said, "Honey, are you going to be okay?" And I was like, "Oh, it's okay. I'm good. I'm brave. I'm strong. I got this." Finished watching Frankenstein with Dad. Walked out alone into the backyard, into these woods. Went down into the creek bed. And what did I find? Along the walls of the creek bed, but clay. Pure, precious clay. Miles and miles of clay. My plan was to take this clay and to craft figurines to create a stop-motion, claymation, animation version of the Frankenstein story. I would need dozens of clay figurines, maybe even hundreds, to make this movie. I was ready for it. However, about this time, I heard, "You shall not make yourselves any idols." I said, okay, but production is scrapped. No clay statues, no Frankenstein idol movie. I can work with that. We can do this. I'm gonna be good. Which brings us to ornery. Ornery to me is another grandma word. It sounds kind of like awning, the covering for a doorway, or perhaps a yawn if you're tired. But it turns out it just means stubborn. This might come from an old Scottish pronunciation of ordinary, ornery. So Grandma would frequently call my brothers and I ornery. And it was kind of funny. It was always like a banter. You know, we would be jumping up and down on the couch or just laughing a lot. And she would call us ornery. But at the end of the visit, without fail, she would hand us some money. And that was cool. But then one time, there was no money. We were sitting in the back of the car, getting ready to go home to the normal, usual place for the exchange of money to occur. And there was no money. Grandma told us that we had an ornery, and she meant it by withholding our money. I didn't know that grandmas could do that, but she did. So for me, I don't think grandma was ornery, but apparently I was. But the funny thing is, around 6th grade, I started using words like ornery to describe other people. Okay, so I'm in 6th grade, kind of using some grandma vocab. I am in the lunch line, getting ready for lunch. A bunch of other kids swarm ahead to the front of the line. My word for them, in my heart of hearts, was heathen. Okay, somebody get the door, we got a friend. Thank you. Okay, yes, heathen. Then at dinner, Mom said something I didn't like, and I called her a hypocrite. So my family, they laughed at me, and they informed me that it's actually pronounced hypocrite. Okay, so that's ornery, heathen, hypocrite. I was kind of talking like a grandma in 6th grade, but not just a grandma, because when I looked at my 6th grade Bible translation, I saw Jesus use the words heathen, hypocrite, and 1997-98, I had a purple bracelet on my wrist that said WWJD. What would Jesus do? So I thought, why not me? Calling other people names is a go. Not a no-go, like making a Frankenstein art movie. Don't do that. But calling other people names is a go. That's my edgy joke. Okay, this brings us to driving. Grandma never drove. She didn't need to. She lived in a small town. The meals, we recall, were brought to her on wheels to her front doorstep. If she wanted to go to church, it was right across the street. Me, I can drive. Oh, I can do it. But I don't like it. Not one bit. Here's why. You can be doing everything completely right. Turn signal on, following the 3-second no tailgating rule, hands 10 and 2 on the wheel, or 9 and 3, it's the new version, and still get bumped, still get hit. It can happen. Exactly what you're supposed to do, and still occasionally, accidentally get bumped. It's not pleasant. It's like the grown-up version of tag. The elementary school version of tag is much more fun. You're on the playground, they tag, you're it, you get to chase them and tag them back. That's a lot of fun. The grown-up version is you get tagged, and you just sit there until the police show up. This isn't even the only version of grown-up tag. I saw another one at lunchtime at a restaurant long ago. The meal was finished, time to pay. Mom and Grandpa argued over whose turn it was to pay. I don't mean they wanted the other person to pay. I mean they were getting the credit cards and cash out of their own pockets to try to preempt the server, getting it to the server first so that the other person would not pay. That did not make any sense to me. Why would you spend your own money when someone else is willing to spend theirs? That is tag, I'm it. It just bewildered me in 6th grade. Meanwhile, if we had to propose one more version of grown-up tag, let's pretend it came down to Grandma and I deciding whose turn it was to drive. It would not really be a game of grown-up tag, it would be more like a grown-up chicken. Chicken is the game where you have two drivers headed towards each other, and the last one to swerve is the first one to swerve is the chicken. You want to not be the first one to give in. But for Grandma, this game of chicken, it would not proceed past the driver's side door. It would be like, tag, you're it, go ahead, drive. Then she would say, no, you're the one with the driver's license. And I would say, no, you're the one who's older. We would just never, it would not be off to the races. It would not be off to the races, it would be, it would not be that. Paranoia. This one's risky. Somebody might be thinking, how dare you call your own grandma paranoid? But note closely, this is a lowercase p. So this is not an ultimate diagnosis. And it's not just grandma, we're talking about grandma and me. But first, grandma. So, grandma, it turns out, she had struggles with vision, so her glasses were quite thick. When my brothers and I would try them on, it would make us dizzy. Otherwise, she has a bunch of magnifying glasses around the coffee tables in her living room so she could see stuff. And so it turns out that sometimes the struggles to see things as you get older can go along with maybe seeing some things that aren't there. So one night, she was under the impression that there was actually a man outside of her living room window trying to see in. So she calls the police. The police show up. He does a thorough sweep of the house and the premises. He does not find a man. The next night, the same thing happens. She sees somebody outside, calls the police. He comes to check it out. Nobody there. A couple nights like this. So it turns out that yes, it can be some kind of struggling to see. Can go along with seeing a man who is not there. Now for me, the paranoia was not actually about one man, but instead about many men. Oh yes, this is one fateful day that my doctor and I refer to as the Whole Foods incident. I was at Whole Foods, and I became convinced that a group of men were going to show up and attack this Whole Foods in Chicago. I thought that was going to happen. So she talked to the security guard, and she had a few questions for me, like, okay, how do you know about this attack? Are you in on it? And I was trying to communicate, no, it's not me, it's them. No, it's not me, it's them. So that didn't help. Meanwhile, my concern was how to protect my laptop, a very significant device for me. It has my writings on it, it has my information. So somehow I was aware that in the parking garage below the Whole Foods, there was a trash can. A tall, heavy-duty, 32-gallon trash can with the dome-top lid. So I went down there, took off the dome-top lid, took out the garbage bag, safely deposited my laptop into the bottom of this trash can, put the garbage bag back on top, and put the lid back on top, and walked away. Next word, crushing. Okay, don't worry. Yes, I was able to retrieve the laptop. Mom and Dad were able to retrieve me. I got diagnosed. The things are much better. So that was paranoia. But about the time of my grandma and I's parallel paranoias, it was also the time of crushing. Crushing, I'm thinking of mortar and pestle. You have the bowl, and you put the ingredient in the bowl. You crush it down with the pestle, and it makes a funny noise. But you're getting what you want. You're getting what you need to get better. So for me, this looked like the day I turned 30. It was the first time in my life that I was constipated. First time in my life. All day at work, miserable. Got home from work, laid on my bed, miserable. My roommate comes home, flips on the evening news. Now I never need to hear or see the evening news. Never, ever, ever. However, on this night, there was a regular occurrence on the evening news that was of great interest to me. Can anybody dare to imagine what it was?
Commercials.
The commercials for the medicine. The viewer demographic for the evening news is not 20-somethings. It's not 30-somethings. It's 55 and up. And that night I was getting there. So from my room on my bed, I heard the TV say something like, do you have trouble? Yes! Pause that commercial. Give me the name of that medicine. I will ask my doctor. Just give me that herb. Anyway, long story short, in the morning I was able to continue with my 30s. Meanwhile, Grandma was in Illinois in her 90s, and things were getting a bit difficult. Mom was making multiple trips back to visit Grandma, back and forth from Illinois to Columbia. We had a caretaker join in to help out for a time. And then as a surprise, one day, Grandma said something like, you know what, I guess I could use some help. And she agreed to move to Columbia to be in a nursing home. That was a big deal. So here's my preaching moment. As we get older, as far as I can tell, at our best, we become more willing to embrace help. We are willing to accept help from out of town. We are willing for our roommate to turn up the volume so we can find out what that drug is. Organ. Grandma played the organ. She played one song, the same song her mom taught all 7 of her kids. It is a hymn called Jesus, Lover of My Soul. Can anybody sing it? Mom. But yes, I watched Grandma play this with 90-year-old hands. It looked like she was using about 2 fingers, left index, right index. It was kind of like hunt and peck on a keyboard. If this was 3rd grade computer lab, this would have been discouraged. But she made it work. She made it work. For a long time, my younger brother and I, the only song we could play, it went like this. We'd show up at Grandma's house, we go into the room with the Yamaha PSR6 electric keyboard. We take off the crepe paper. There was a crepe paper on it for some reason, I guess to keep off the dust or something. And then we would say, watch this, but don't look. And so one of us would assume the keyboard and press the demo key, and we would get Okay, this is a song called Spring Song by Mendelssohn, but that was the only thing we could play, just the demo key. Until when I was getting to the end of high school, my younger brother played guitar. I wanted to be a musician too, so we had the piano. I was going to give it a shot. At first, I would just look for material to learn from the internet. This was before YouTube, so I did not see which fingers to use when you make your chords. So I just thought, all right, how about these 3? These 3. And then I put it into my C chord, C, E, G. Then to make the other one an octave below it, another 3 fingers like this. Plop them down. Apparently, this is not how normal people play the keyboard. It's not like the official way. Somehow, they use all 10 fingers, and they don't use the 3 that I had picked. But Grandma and I, we were not trying to impress anybody, we just wanted to play, okay? We're not trying to be professionals, we're just trying to play like cats. Cats are never gonna turn down the chance to play with a string, or a rubber band, or a mouse, or even a keyboard. Cats play the organ. Next word is garden. Grandma was good at gardening. Her garden in her front yard won awards. For me, gardening, let's just say that it was like an acquired taste. Because you have to crouch down there and pick stuff up out of the ground, and it's hot outside, and there might be a snake. But Grandma won awards. Meanwhile, at the same time I'm learning to play keyboard, I was learning to write. 12th grade, that was my favorite class, creative writing. And our teacher told us, writing is gardening. Yeah. You start out with your raw material in the notebook, and then it's like a composting. It gets churned up, polished up a bit, and you can come up with a polished feet piece, such as a flower. Okay, I don't know if this is official gardening lingo. Compost, I'm pretty confident in. Churn, I don't know. Flower, yes, flowers end up at the end. So that's what happened for me. Just even before that class started, we are supposed to write in a notebook every day. And that took me back to first grade when we moved to this house, the new house. And Dad gave me a notepad, and he said, if you wake up in the middle of the night, and no matter how you're feeling, you can just start writing. Doesn't matter if it's spelled right, doesn't matter if it's good handwriting, just whatever comes to you, write that down. This was a vast improvement over my technique at the old house, where I was struggling to just get one penciled letter down on the edge of this piano bench. Old house. Couldn't get one letter down. New house, flowing. Old house, I was just messing with the corner of this one piece of piano bench. New house, I was exploring the architecture of the entire piano. And I found 3 pedals on the bottom. The pedal on the left, it makes the notes sound like light and soft and dainty. The pedal in the middle, I still don't know what that one does. But the pedal on the right, that one is just right because it makes the notes louder. It is called like it sustains them, sustaining pedal. The chords ring out, and that's what I wanted. Somebody was telling me, look, we're glad you're learning how to play the piano, but that pedal right there, you want to use that one sparingly. But I wanted it to sound like an organ, that it would just ring out and fill up this whole house, right? Fill it up, because that's what it's here for. Child. So the last time I saw Grandma at the nursing home, she was acting like a child. I had not seen this before. She was singing, or if not singing, like talking in a sing-song voice. She was playing with the blankets of her bed, and she was complaining about this stuffed animal cat at her feet. It was getting in the way of her feet. She was complaining about that. So we were asking, like, Grandma, why are you singing? And she said, because I like it. I like it, I like it, I like it. In March, we went to her celebration of life. We were allowed to give some remarks. And, believe it or not, at the back of the funeral home room was an organ. Maybe this is not that surprising because it was a funeral home. If I had said timpani, that drum, or like a marimba, maybe that would be more surprising, but they had the organ. And it was wide open, like somebody had left me the keys. I was handed the keys, I gave my speech. I go down and I'm even gonna sit on the organ bench. I take my index, middle, ring finger, put them into the F chord, the others over here for the octave below it, and I played Jesus, lover of my soul, just like Grandma's mom had taught her when she was a child. Except, I didn't even play it right. I messed up the ending. My fingers were a bit wrong on the last couple notes, so it's like the overlap, a bit messy. I was not perfect, it was not polished up, but I was playing. Okay, I was playing. I was growing up into a child. I was turning into grandma. So, I call this grandma's house. A house can be a building, and it can also be a dynasty, like a family line. So I am descended from grandma, so we were probably going to look alike in some ways, but there was no guarantee. If we remember from the beginning, there was a broad gulf that separated us, right? We had grandma's laughter and my rage. 5-year-old, polite, silent, on the inside rage, but rage nonetheless. So, I might have remained stuck in rage, but it's more fun to turn into grandma. And for our resemblance, even if you don't give us 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10, I'm okay with 6 out of 10. Thanks.